Hello and welcome back. This is the 11th video in the Flow Certified Professional Online Training. And in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about the definition of vision. And as you see here in the 4D model, as well as in the 4R model, vision is right at the heart and soul of everything that we do. Vision, mission, and values, they're similar yet different. And so we're going to talk about that. And these are going to be some of your key takeaways, is understanding the difference between these three and how to use these in real life. Usually in a live session, we would have you write down what the difference is between a vision and mission. And so we would put up on the whiteboard, we would put one box with vision, one box with mission up on the wall, and people would do post-it notes and write down what their definitions of those are. Okay. And then we would do the same for vision and values, and then vision and purpose. What are the difference between each of those? And so if you want, you could stop the video here and go ahead and write those down yourself and put them on post-it notes and put them up on the wall. Since we're doing this remotely, we will, and in an online version, I'm going to just sort of share with you what I see as the differences are. And so vision is always a to-be statement, what we want to be in the future. And I think that's missed by a lot of companies because people think vision and mission, oh, it's the same thing. Not the way I look at least. I would suggest that mission is the business that you're in, and more importantly, the business you're not in. And so for me, those are pretty significant differences. If you're looking at what you want to be versus the business that you're in, hopefully those are in the same area. It's like with Nokia. The mission, the business that they were in, 2 words, connecting people. But their vision was to connect the 4 billion who weren't with the 2 billion who were. And so it was a really elegant way to be able to quickly back out what the mission was and what the vision statement was for the company. And you could ask basically anybody in the company, what's the vision of Nokia, what's the mission of Nokia, and they would be able to tell you right on the spot with no hesitation, and you would be able to match that up. In a lot of companies, I had one exercise with people from an elite management consulting company. They flew in one of the regional heads, vice presidents of the entire consulting organization with 15,000 people, flew in the division head from Chicago. We're in a room in Germany and had them write down their visions, what the vision was for their company and what the vision was for the division that they were working for. And it was really eye-opening for that executive because first, he was hard-pressed to be able to write it down. So I put his 2 notes up at the top for vision and mission. And then I put all of his direct reports, everything that they wrote down, I put underneath his. And they were so far apart. In fact, I think I got 3 or 4 blank post-it notes that I put up on the wall under each, where the people reporting to this regional divisional head, they didn't have a clue what the vision was, what the mission was. So I'm not sure what they were doing there working with that company, but it really drove home the point that how can you get the things done that will add value if you don't have alignment on everybody's vision about what they're working on. again, they'll just be, everyone will be doing what's right in their own eyes. And then if somebody says, well, hey, what are you doing that for? How come you're doing that? It's going to be really interesting for a leader trying to keep everyone moving the right direction in that case. Okay? So, vision is a to be statement, mission is the business that you're in. Now, vision and values, people will go, oh, yeah, we've got our value statements up on the wall. Well, companies, they come up with these value statements: integrity, we love the environment, we respect each other, and you have all these value statements that aren't vision statements. It's like, I don't want to get to the point where I respect people. I should walk in respecting people. That should just already be built in. Those values should already be part of the person's character. Ted and I and our brother Dan, we were working on a project together 25 years ago. And the business owner, or what we would call these days the product owner, he had the poster up on his wall with all the beautiful vision statements. And next to it were check marks. And so we asked him, and we said, hey, what's with all the check marks? And his eyes got really big, and he like runs to the door, looks out the door, up and down the hall, and closes the door, comes back and sits down. And in a very hushed voice, he said, well, every time an executive violates one of the value statements, I just put a check mark there. And it was nothing but check marks on every line. And he had worked there for quite a while. But he that was his way of keeping score on how many times all those values had been violated. And so, and typically I had another consultant that I worked with. He made a really good point. He says, typically it's not a value until somebody objects. Then it's a value statement. And so a vision is a to be statement. A value statement is about character, or how we behave, and how we how our character is carried out in the business place. The last one in these three that really throws people for a curve is the idea of vision and purpose. They're similar, but it's not exactly the same thing. The vision is what we want to be. The purpose is the why. And if you've read Simon Sinek's works, it's basically start with why. And even more recently in video, Simon has admitted, now you need the vision statement first before you start with why. Okay? And so he's starting to come around to our way of thinking, which is great. Everybody has their own journey that they're on. But the point is that vision is a to be statement, and purpose answers the question, why? Why are we doing this? What's the higher good that we're achieving as a company that makes our product sustainable? Product, service, or result, sustainable, that the marketplace goes, this is valuable. Okay, so you have to know your why. Why do you exist? But don't confuse it with vision. Here are some quotes, and straight from the dictionary as well. Okay, so I put this in here to also give you an additional way to look at these. Vision is the ability to think about or plan the future with imagination or wisdom. If you've read any of Dr. Burse's books that he has out there, the latest one is The Anticipatory Organization. And the book before that was Flash Foresight. There are things called future facts that we know are going to happen. It's like the inverted population triangle in the West, where everybody's getting older, at least here in the West. As the population ages, we know that we can deduce future facts from that growth. And we're already seeing the results of it today. The economists were warning us 20, 30 years ago, when all of these people get to a certain age and they start retiring, the ability of them to be able to sell their houses at a profit may be threatened, because all of a sudden everybody's doing the same thing and they need the money for their retirement or health care or whatever. And so it also impacts the tax revenues of a nation, and it just has all these societal impacts. Well, by understanding that that pyramid is upside down, you can look at the trends. You can start to go, oh, over the horizon, we see things that are going to be happening that could impact us as an organization and as a company. Okay, and the way I look at it is for vision, what you want to be in the future. Okay, mission is an important assignment given to a person or a group of people typically involved in traveling abroad. I've expanded that to the business that you're in, especially if you're involved in international business. Everything that you're doing is a mission. On values, these are the principles or standards of behavior, going right back to the character, one's judgment of what's important in life. And so, if you're working with people who don't share the same values as you have, that's going to create a cultural clash. And then the purpose is the reason for which something is done or created, or for which something exists. Answers the question why. It's pretty straightforward. Jeff Bezos, one of the richest men in the world now with Amazon.com, he made this statement, and I find this very interesting. Amazon is willing to plant seeds and let them grow. We're stubborn on vision, flexible on details. What's interesting is that Jeff earlier, I don't know how it is now, but earlier he had the reputation of being quite the micromanager about his, that's an agile anti-pattern where people need autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Now, in this statement, it sounds really good, and you go, oh, you're stubborn on the vision part. We'll let you sort out the details. Hire people smarter than you to get the work done. Or as somebody said, Bill Gates once said, hire lazy people because they'll find the most effective way to get it done. So when you're looking at this, this is a great statement, and I really hope that this is true for what they're doing, because if that's the case, then they're actually taking steps towards achieving flow. And I don't want to get into all the, hey, the warehouse workers are treated this way or that way, or their work environment is totally horrible and toxic. I don't know. I don't study them that closely, but this particular quote caught both Ted's and my attention many years ago, and we've used it since. Here's a couple examples of what I'm talking about. And the print in gray is everything that's included in their current vision statement. And I like it because they use the to be format. So I just grade everything up to that point in gray. And to be the best provider of technology globally recognized and admired as a strategic partner, and act with passion and energy to serve our customers. Everybody wants to do that. I mean, that's about as generic as you can get. What I tried to key in on is that here you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A vision statement should be about 7 words long. Anything longer than that, it's not memorable. You can't repeat it, and it's hard to communicate it down through the organization. So, once again, you're looking at this and you're just going, when it starts to get this long, sorry, that's just too long. Nobody, if you put 10 executives in the room and you tried to have them write their own vision statement, first you get 12 versions, and because they would probably mix it up with the mission statement, and on top of that, no one would be able to repeat this word for word. The human brain has the capability of remembering 5 to 7 words in chunks. So if the chunk's too big, it's not memorable, and it's not going to do you any good, and it's not communicatable. I don't know if that's a word, but sounds good. And if you looked at their mission, and again, their mission is to, I just grade that out, exceed the expectations of our customers' employees. Isn't that what everybody's trying to do? Again, it's pretty generic. But again, it's more than 7 words. So I put in black bold the 7 words, and then the rest is just blah, 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 blah. Nobody's going to be able to remember it. And then both of these end up just being noise. They almost actually will work against you. First, because they're way too generic. Second, because it's just noise and they're too long. Now, the granddaddy of them all was the company I worked with, that they had a vision or a mission statement from like the 1860s. And it was a page long. I mean, I'm looking at this, I'm just going, and I smiled and I handed it back to the CEO and I said, let's put the board in a room and let's have them write this one from memory. He just looked at me and started laughing. He said, I couldn't write it from memory. So, but over time, it became very clear that because there were 2 portfolios, there was science for scientists and science for non-scientists. And that's 7 words, and it covered 2 portfolios. And that's exactly what they realized was their vision statement. Okay, it was also sort of like the mission statement of the business that they were in. So, we're 20% complete. Woo, woo. And we've looked at the difference between vision, mission, and values. And so the application, taking this out of the book, is being able to write good vision statements, good mission statements, understanding value statements are there and that they're probably violated all over the place all the time. They talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. And we're going to talk about that in the next video. One of the most beautiful uses of vision I've ever witnessed, or was actually related back to me in a story, was that 2 people working in an organization, it was a non-governmental organization that worked with adoptions, largest one in the US with 1,500 employees. One of the directors and another director got into a pretty heated discussion right after they went through our training. And you can use vision to take emotion out of that kind of situation. And the 2 directors looked at each other and said, well, let's apply vision to what we're doing. And the director of fundraising, their vision was connecting resources with vulnerable children. And the other one was connecting the children with vulnerable children with loving families. And so when they stepped back and they looked at, well, our visions don't compete with each other, they work together for the benefit of the children that were trying to get adopted, as well as the families that would love to adopt those children. And when they were able to step back and look at their visions, all of a sudden they looked at each other and they said, well, what we're talking about, if we look at it through the lens of vision, that took the disagreement and the dispute and it just became like mist into the sand, and it was no longer an issue. And so that was just a beautiful use of vision for conflict resolution. But they had done the hard work just the day before in creating the visions for each of their departments. Okay? So that's just one example of many where, and I think we even shared that one in the book, where they were able to come to a resolution. And this is very similar to the technique of getting negotiating, getting people to yes. where they have very divergent starting points, and over time you get them to yes by having that common vision. And so that's one of the classic books that's out there on conflict resolution. And so if you have the visions in place throughout the organization, it becomes much more quick to resolve conflicts that may flare up throughout the organization.